Do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
It is a nice Wednesday here in the great city of Indianapolis.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
And we've got an awesome show in store for you today. Aaron Torres at 1:20. Purdue head football coach Barry Odom at 2 o'clock. Can't wait for that. Should be a lot of fun talking to Coach. And, you know, Chris is here, as always, wearing all of his Giant stuff.
I'm just hanging out with my Giant stuff.
Is there a reason why you're wearing all your Giant stuff?
It's laundry day.
But, like, the hat, though, you didn't need to wear a hat.
Well, I didn't shave my head this week, so it's kind of grown and doesn't look great. So hat it is.
Okay. Do you do that yourself?
I do.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm not being funny.
It doesn't grow very long, but it grows noticeably. It's kind of like a chia pet, and it gets to a certain length and it stops growing, and I got to put a hat on.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. A lot of Colts stuff today. They have their first joint practice against the Atlanta Falcons. They'll have a second joint practice tomorrow, and then, of course, on Saturday, preseason game at home at Lucas Oil Stadium. Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also watch the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. So let's start Wednesday off in maybe the best way possible. Let's get into Over the Hump Day right off the rip.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo! Hump Day!
No, as a coach, I gotta get us over that hump. I gotta get them comfortable, knowing that you're gonna be in close games and you gotta make plays coming down the home stretch. I mean, in the tournament, we were right there. You know, I just didn't get them over the hump, man. And you know, that's something that I live with every day of my life. Because I truly believe that was the team to really make some noise and get to the finals, and I just couldn't get them over the hump.
Coach Mike Woodson and his never-ending struggle to get over the hump. It's a problem. It was a problem the entire time that he was there, and the Colts are struggling to get over a hump themselves. They can't seem to make the playoffs. It's a problem, right? The playoffs are the end-all, be-all for the Indianapolis Colts this year. Chris Ballard's job depends on it. Shane Steichen's job might depend on it. We'll see what they decide to do with him. I think it's truly up in the air for Coach Steichen as to whether or not he comes back next season if they miss the playoffs. Everyone in that building knows the deal. This isn't a rebuilding year where you're test driving a hybrid to see if you like it. This isn't a rebuilding year where you can play underdeveloped Anthony Richardson for 14 games or however many games he played a couple of years ago. Okay, this is a CEO who took out a high-interest loan and needs a quarter of record revenue right now, or security is going to escort him out of the building. Those are the stakes for the Indianapolis Colts this season. And in order for the Colts to be a playoff team, this offense is going to have to lead the way. You can make a strong case that the Colts offense this year is better than last year's. They bring back the same offensive line, except for Braden Smith, who was just getting owned down there in Houston. He was probably the Colts' worst starting offensive lineman last year. Jalen Travis should be able to perform as well as Braden Smith did. Maybe even better. Younger player, looked good last year when he had to play. Also, Matt Gonsalves is in year 2 as an offensive guard, so you would think he would be better because of that. Tanner Bortolini is going into his second season as the full-time starter at center. You think he'd be better as well, just with a full year's worth of experience under his belt. Same goes for Matt Gonsalves. Pass catching wise, they bring everybody back except for Michael Pittman Jr. He was replaced by Keenan Allen, who might be better than Michael Pittman. It's a really easy argument to make when you look at their EPA last year. It's pretty clear that Keenan Allen's the better player. If you don't know what EPA is, it basically tells you how much a play moved the needle. If a play makes it more likely that the offense will score next, it has a positive EPA. And if a play hurts those chances, like a sack or an interception, it has a negative EPA, which is nice to know because traditional stats like yards or whatever can be misleading because they don't account for context. Like a 6-yard gain on 3rd and 8 looks fine on paper, but it obviously failed to pick up a first down. EPA will show that as a negative play because that's what it is. Okay, it's like, buying an expensive suit on sale. Sure, you saved 50%, but if it doesn't fit when you put it on for the meeting, you still lost money. Okay, so it just provides context to the stats. Meanwhile, a 3-yard run on 3rd and 2 and the stat sheet doesn't look great, but if you pick up 3 yards on 3rd and 2, that's a good thing. That's a win. And so EPA will show that. So now that you know what EPA is, Keenan Allen's total EPA against zone coverage last year was 55.29. That was 18th in the NFL. Michael Pittman's was 45.17. That was 28th in the NFL. So Keenan Allen was more impactful against zone coverage than Michael Pittman was last year. Against man, it's more of the same. Keenan Allen's EPA against man coverage last year was 24.47. That was 20th in the NFL. Michael Pittman's EPA against man coverage last year was 14.85, which was 44th in the NFL. Keenan Allen was the more impactful receiver last year. In big spots, he found a way to make plays. And that's really what the Colts need from that spot. The bulk of the targets are going to Tyler Warren, Alec Pierce, and Josh Downs in that order. They need a 4th pass catcher who they can just rely on 3rd and 8, a guy that they know is going to find a way to get open. That is who Keenan Allen is. In terms of pass catchers being better, you would expect for Tyler Warren in his 2nd NFL season to come back a better player as well. Alec Pierce is going to put up better numbers because he's going to be asked to do more than just win deep, which is still something that he's very capable of doing. We'll see how Downs looks this year. I expect him to be a bit better than he was last year. You could argue last year was the worst year of his career. Part of that is he didn't get a ton of targets. So I expect his number to be better just because his targets are going to go up. But we'll see how targets get split up now that they've brought in Keenan Allen. Okay, so the pass catchers are better than they were last year. That's how it is. Okay, you would also at running back, it's still Jonathan Taylor. You've got Seth McGowan likely being the backup. Okay, he might be an upgrade over DJ Giddens and Ulysses Bentley IV. So they should have more depth at the position. Maybe they like Seth McGowan enough to give him a few carries every game. Jonathan Taylor then theoretically would have less carries. He'd be fresher at the end of games. Maybe you can keep him healthy. I don't know. Either way, the Colts are set at running back no matter how they decide to divide the reps up. There's also a decent chance that the Colts offensive line is better. Their pass catchers are better, and they still have one of the 3 best running backs in football. That's a lot of what they looked like last year. Good offensive line, 4 good pass catchers, one of the 3 best running backs in football. Last year, they had an offense that averaged 27.4 points per game. I don't know if they're necessarily going to match that because their schedule is tougher this year. But if they're going to make the playoffs, their offense has to lead the way. And that all comes back to Daniel Jones. When the Colts went out and they, signed Daniel Jones, 2 off seasons ago, there was a lot of discussion, the people that, were optimistic about Daniel Jones. There was discussion around like the supporting cast in Indianapolis is so much better than what it was in New York. This is the best supporting cast Daniel Jones has ever had. The receivers and offensive lines in New York were never this good. You can make a case that his weapons are better this year than they were last year. He should have a huge season. For years in New York, Daniel Jones was handed a broken lawnmower and expected to win a Formula One race. Now, Indy handed him the keys to a brand new Ferrari with like top-tier tires and a nice tuned engine. If he crashes into the wall now, it's not the car, it's the driver. The support that he has in Indianapolis is outstanding. And he's got a head coach that, even if you don't like Coach Steichen's clearly not an idiot. Like, he's not Brian Callahan in Tennessee last year, who didn't last one full season. He's not Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, who I think only coached 1 year. Like, Shane Steichen's clearly capable. He's not going to get in the way of this offense. This should be one of the best offenses in the NFL this year. They had one of the best offenses in the NFL last year, even though Daniel Jones missed 5 games. If he stays healthy, they should be a top 10 offense. And they could flirt with top 5. We'll see. They were 7th in scoring offense last year, with Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard taking snaps in the final 5 games of the year. If it's Daniel Jones the whole way, this should be a top 10 offense that leads the Colts to the playoffs. The question is just going to be whether or not Daniel Jones can stay healthy. And I would think that behind this offensive line that he would be able to do that, but we'll see. So if the Colts make the playoffs, it will be because of this offense. Chris, what do you think just about the idea of this offense being better this year than it was last year?
On paper, it looks like it could be a 12-5 team. They should be better than last year, but we know in reality how the Colts are and what their MO is. It's like somebody goes down and the whole thing implodes. Yeah. But you're absolutely correct. It comes down to Daniel Jones and him staying healthy. Hopefully, I mean, the goal is to playoffs or bust per Carly Gordon Ursay.
For everybody.
But that's her. That's her.
Yeah.
She's pounding it into the ground. This is what she expects. So everybody should expect a playoff appearance at least. And yeah, on paper they do look like they should be able to do that. But only time will tell, man. My thought on it, and I changed
7-10.
I changed my expectation from 5-12 to 7-10.
Okay.
But I would like to see them.
Is that you predicting an injury?
Yeah. This is with an injury. Somebody's going to go down and it's going to be detrimental to their.
That's very possible.
To their run.
Right.
Especially like starting out the gate, right? Like after their 3 or 4 games to start, it's like trying to crawl out of a hole that and then you're trying twice as hard to get into the playoffs at that point. So I don't know. Yeah. If it wasn't such a bad start outlook, then we would probably be in better shape in my mind.
You mean the first 3 games, right?
Right.
Chiefs or Ravens, Chiefs, Texans.
Yeah, that's tough.
If they start 1-2, if they can get one of them, because two of those games are at home. This is, everyone talks about me being negative. I'm over here trying to talk them up a little bit, but. What if they start 1-2? Because they do have the Ravens at home. That's an advantage. They do have Houston at home in that week 3 game. Obviously, they're on the road at night at Kansas City. Tough game to win down there. But what if they start 1-2? What?
They can definitely still one of those 3. And out of those 3, I think it would be Baltimore, because the Texans defense is going to be way too tough. And you're not winning one in Arrowhead with a healthy Mahomes. That's just not happening with our defense. But if they can still week 1, I will change my 7-10 back up to like an 8-9 or 9.
He's going to give him one more win. Nah, hey man, that's totally fair. I've got him at 9-8 right now. Or I think, yeah, I've got to admit, I can't. So I know I moved him to 8-9 because Washington's not going to have Laramie Tunsil in that Week 4 game. Is Keenan Allen enough to make them 9-8? Maybe.
I'm not sure that's like the ace in the pocket, though. You know what I mean? That's just insurance.
I just like the depth,
right?
Because like Josh Downs, I don't think he's played a full season in his career. But he'll play like 14 or 15 games. Alec Pierce is obviously coming off the ankle thing. Because like to your point, like someone's going to get hurt, and like you have to have depth. So like I now feel pretty good about the depth at receiver. I feel pretty good about the depth at corner since they brought in Cam Taylor-Britt. I feel pretty good about the depth at linebacker after what we saw in the first preseason game. You know, if Seth McGowan has to play a game or two, obviously we don't love that, but I think he'd be capable. The problem is going to be if Leatu Latu or DeForest Buckner get hurt.
Absolutely.
If one of those guys goes down, 7-10 then seems much more likely.
Totally agree with that. 110%.
So we'll see, man, because there's, we're getting into the edge rusher stuff coming up here at 12:20 because it's really the final hole on this Colts roster. The offense, like they had an issue at receiver, they plugged it. Corner, they added some depth there. Linebacker, they addressed it in the draft. Strong safety, they addressed in the draft. Edge rusher, defensive line in general, it's a major problem. I've got some ideas on trade targets and things, and a little bit on what I want to see from the edge rushers during the joint practices against the Falcons. I'll tell you what those things are in 3 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Colts brought in Keenan Allen to fill the hole at wide receiver. I think they've got one hole left on their roster that they need to fill. Is that yeah, it's a bell. Yeah. Absolutely a bell. And that is obviously the edge rusher position. You know, the offense is going to lead the way for the Indianapolis Colts this season, and that's partially because that's just kind of who their head coach is. I think Shane Steichen has done a good job of proving that he's capable of creating offenses that score points, regardless of who's playing quarterback. And the one holdup, if you were going to argue against this Colts roster, is you would say something like, arguably the most important piece on any defense is a huge question mark for the Colts. That is me putting it nicely. Right now, Arden Key is going to start at edge rusher. He is a career rotational pass rusher. Okay, it's like relying on a compact spare tire to get you through a cross-country road trip. If that's not who you want starting on your defense. Opposite of him is Leatu Latu. That's a player who, to his credit, got better last year, but he needs to improve again. He needs to be a double-digit sack guy. The Colts haven't had one of those since Justin Houston in 2019, 7 years ago. The problem is Leatu Latu hasn't proven that he can be that. The Colts are betting on a projection. And, you know, people will rip them for that. I understand that. But when you take a guy 15th overall in a salary cap league, you have to bet on projection sometimes. And look, if I'm going to bet on projection, I would rather bet it on a guy that I took in the first round, 15th overall, than, you know, a guy that I took in the third or fourth round at another position. You would think that Leatu Latu in year 3 would find a way to be better. We'll see. After those two guys, like the drop-off is pretty scary. And that is where the concerns at edge rusher really come into play. Jalen Tuimoloau barely played last year. It doesn't sound like he's had a great camp. He didn't look very good in that first preseason game. Michael Clemens has 8.5 sacks in his career. He's probably their fourth defensive end. And after that, they've got day 3 picks as their 5th and 6th best edge rushers. Caden Curry, I know he looked good in the preseason game. Maybe he finds a way to contribute in some way. But, you know, guy's a day 3 pick for a reason. George Gums, same thing. Guy's a day 3 pick for a reason. More of a project as well. I wouldn't call that group of dudes a playoff level pass rush. Your 4th best pass rusher, or your theoretical 4th best pass rusher, Michael Clemens, has as many sacks in his career as Leatu Latu did last year. 8.5. It's a problem. If this Colts season goes wrong, it will be because this pass rush, very simply, isn't good enough. And it's hard to scheme around a lack of pass rushing talent. They'll just blitz more. I know that this secondary is good, but the best quarterbacks in the NFL tear up the blitz. Blitzing elite quarterbacks without a natural pass rush is like throwing gasoline on a fire to try to put it out. It's just not a reliable strategy against guys like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and the other good quarterbacks that the Colts are going to have to face this year. They're going to have to make a trade if they want to get better. I think it's the only way. Even if Leatu Latu becomes a 12.5 sack guy, they're going to need more depth. And I think that there are 4 guys that might get moved. And because they're edge rushers, none of them are cheap. Max Crosby, Josh Sweat, Alex Highsmith, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Max Crosby got traded in the offseason for 2 first-round picks. Colts probably wouldn't want to give up that much since, that's what they did last year for Sauce Gardner. They don't have a first-round pick this next season. It's a problem for them. So probably not going to be able to make a trade for a guy like Max Crosby. Josh Sweat is an interesting piece. He's 29, so he's not young, but he's not really old either. He's coming off the best year of his career with 12 sacks. I don't think he would demand a first-round pick, but he'd probably go for a day 2 pick. Probably got to give up a second or third-round pick for him. And the Colts could afford that if they wanted to win games in January. I guess we'll find out if that's a desire of theirs or not. Alex Highsmith would probably go for a 3rd or 4th rounder. Solid player, 9.5 sacks last year in 13 games. He's 29 as well. He's the backup to TJ Watt in Pittsburgh. So, he's probably the cheapest option available who would certainly help this Colts pass rush. And then you have Kayvon Thibodeau of the New York Giants. Younger player that hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's only 25. In the 1 year that he stayed healthy, he had 11.5 sacks. If you pair him with Laiatu Latu, then you feel good about the Colts pass rushers for the next few years. He would be my desired guy. Buying into Thibodeau right now is like purchasing a luxury sports car with the engine light on. It's a high upside gamble. But if you tune it up, you've got a supercar at a fraction of the cost. This is a guy who is a top 10 pick in the draft as an edge rusher, had a really nice career at Oregon when he was playing in college. Okay, with him being so young, he'd be more expensive, but since he's been banged up so much, you could probably get him for a little less than what he's actually worth. I'd assume he'd be worth a 1st or 2nd round pick, and I would pay that in a heartbeat for a talented edge rusher that young. So we'll see what the Colts do there. Last year, they waited a while before making the trade with the Jets for Sauce Gardner. They were just like, maybe we'll get healthy. And then they never did. So they finally pulled the trigger on Sauce. I would like to see the Colts be a little more proactive this year in terms of making that trade to make them better, because we're going to learn very quickly how good or bad this pass rush is. If the secondary is getting diced up, it's not going to be because, Cam Bynum, Sauce Gardner, and Charvarius Ward aren't good enough. Okay, if they get diced up, it's going to be because the quarterback can stand back there for 4 seconds and have all the time in the world to throw the football. Okay? The success of the Colts this year, it's going to be about this pass rush. And we're going to find out really early how good it is or bad. And as soon as the verdict comes back, they can't play, which is what I'm expecting. They need to make that trade. They play too many good quarterbacks this year to not have a pass rush. Lamar Jackson, one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in football. Jaden Daniels, the guy who the last time he was healthy took his team as a rookie to the NFC Championship game. Okay, also, Jaden Daniels under fire right now. Chris, have you seen all this?
I've seen a lot. I can't make sense of it, though. Can you?
LSU Jaden Daniels basically asked LSU to retire his number, and Brian Kelly did. And then Lane Kiffin showed up and was like, we're not doing that. And so he gave out number 5. So Jaden Daniels sent them a letter like, don't sell my jerseys or anything anymore, all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so now people are posting these things like with like 4 or 6 things, and then they'll be like, we can't do, like, in honor of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, that makes sense now.
We won't do 5.
I get it.
And so it's a great internet bit. It's great. Anyway, back to the good quarterbacks on the Colts schedule this year. Aaron Rodgers, I know he's older, still a good player. Cam Ward, if there's a year 2 leap, will be a problem for them. Kyler Murray, who I think is going to be better because for some reason guys go to Minnesota and then they learn how to play quarterback. Kind of amazing. Obviously, they've got Trevor Lawrence twice, a guy who got votes for MVP last year. They had to play Jalen Hurts, and they had to play Joe Burrow, another guy who's a top 5 quarterback in football. Tough to beat all those guys without a pass rush. And it doesn't really seem like the Colts have one. So I understand that they don't want to hit the panic button this early. I understand that they want to give Laiatu Latu an opportunity to show that he's gotten better. But they should hit the panic button soon. Because I don't think Laiatu Latu and DeForest Buckner with little to no pass rushing depth behind them is the answer to your pass rushing problems. They're going to need the help. They're going to have to trade for it. We'll see what they end up doing.
I'm going to give them a little grace on that, though, because if you remember, they did try to go after Trey Hendrickson when all that was going on.
They did.
So they're aware that they have a hole to fill and that it is necessary to take care of. Now that they're at what, 22 million left?
Yep.
They could still do something, but they're probably also thinking that whenever it comes time to for Arden Key to really step up, they may be playing somebody who has an injury on the other side, and they're like, well, we'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like Arden Key can handle second or third string, whoever.
But but if you're depending,
I know you shouldn't rely on that.
Yeah. It's like if your bet is like, the other team will be hurt.
Right.
That's not
the way to do it.
That's not the way to do it.
Absolutely agree.
And Chris Ballard has this quote in, I think it was last offseason, where he said something along the lines of he'll never make any moves to jeopardize the franchise after he's gone. He's just a better person than I am, because if I was him, I'd be like, all right, let's get rid of these picks, baby. Let's go get Max Crosby or whoever it is. And so I don't think that they're necessarily wrong to wait, because, look, maybe Chris Ballard ends up being right, and Laiatu Latu is the best pass rusher in his draft, and he looks like one of the 8 best pass rushers in football this year. If that's the case, then you don't have to give up, a first round pick or a second or third round pick to bring somebody in. My concern is just the same concern that we had at receiver. It's like, okay, like if you like Arden Key, we had Kent Sterling came on Friday and made it sound like he really liked him. But if Arden Key or Latu get hurt, you're really decimated. And so they need something just for depth, I think.
Right. And you were talking about Latu needing to improve this year, and that better piece than Arden Key will definitely help him improve this year for sure.
Yeah. Because, last year, and this is the importance of Buckner staying healthy, like if you have 2 guys who can rush the passer at a high level, you need 2 guys on the field who can rush the passer at a high level, because most of the time, teams are leaving, or they're blocking 5. And if you're rushing 4, they can only double team 1 guy, which then leaves, Latu or Buckner, to be, blocked one-on-one. And I like their chances in that, right? And so the question is just like, what if one of those guys gets hurt? That's the problem.
Also true.
So we'll see. I think that they need to add somebody, especially if Latu doesn't improve. IU fan 71 saying, as a Steelers fan, I would rather trade Watt. That's interesting. I would love TJ Watt. I don't know. The Steelers seem pretty loyal to their guys. And when I think Steelers, I think TJ Watt right now. Obviously, if you did like an all-time thing, for me, it'd be Troy Polamalu. Dude was awesome. That's who Pat McAfee would think of as well. And so
I could say the same about Kayvon Thibodeau in New York. I think
I
Harbaugh's going to like him, and I think they're probably going to decide to keep him.
Yeah, I don't know what their cap situation looks like. I don't think that they picked up the 5th-year team option on him, and so they'd have to extend him. And And I don't know what their cap stuff looks like because they've got a bunch of dudes. Maybe they move like Brian Burns instead, just because he's older.
I could see that too.
Because like they've got, it's so weird. It's like the Giants, who are an interesting team this year. I've heard people be like they could win the NFC East, and I've also heard people say things like they're going to finish last in the NFC East. And so if they're bad, which is I think that's possible. I don't know where you're at on that, Giants fan, but if they're bad, then like they're a team that has guys that they could move at the deadline that would suit the needs of the Colts.
With Harbaugh coming in, I think they're going to find out. They don't know yet, but they're going to find out soon enough. But another notable AFC South injury. I don't know if this changes your outlook on week 3 against Houston, but Jaden Higgins suffered a torn ACL yesterday. One of the wide receivers.
Houston?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's per Ian Rappaport yesterday. Joint practice with the Raiders. Jaden Higgins.
That's
torn
a problem.
ACL, and probably going to be out for the season.
Yeah, that's a problem for them. Look, we don't celebrate injuries. We want guys to stay healthy. But anybody who's competed, it's again, you're not happy about it. But when other guys get hurt, it's like, oh, like my path just got way easier. And oh man, that's so interesting. Because I really like Houston this year. Dark horse to win the Super Bowl, as I said. Their identity is still so predicated around their defense that I think they'll be fine, but this certainly lowers their ceiling. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team anymore if Jaden Higgins isn't going to play. Because I don't know if they have the weapons if he's not out there.
Yeah, but you're right. Toughest defense. Stroud looks really good in preseason and training camp. So I think they'll be okay. I don't know if I'm giving them the Super Bowl, but yeah, they're going to be okay. As far as whenever it comes to the Colts, maybe just got slightly easier for week 3.
Oh, it absolutely did. Like that's their second best receiver who they thought was going to be really good for them this year. So we'll see. It's fascinating stuff, man. No Jaden Higgins. That changes things in the AFC South. That's why we don't lock in our predictions on the Real Jonathan Smith Show until prediction week, which will happen the week before the NFL season. Next week should be prediction week for college football, right?
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, it should be because we're like 10 days away from the start of college football, and that's going to be it is next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll do that next week. We're going to have Aaron Torres join the show coming up here at 1:20, where we will talk college football. We're going to give away tickets to Holiday World at 1:00, and we're going to talk joint practice against the Atlanta Falcons, things that Chris and I want to see and hear about during these joint sessions today and tomorrow against Atlanta. We'll tell you what those things are in 3 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt. Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Yeah. The Indianapolis Colts are going to play against the Atlanta Falcons in a joint practice today and tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. I'm sure that you are as well. Can't wait to see all of the reports. Before we get into that, if you're looking to assist those that have been impacted by the floods throughout Indiana, if you go to indiesportsticket.com, there's a little link there where it'll take you to a site where you can donate and try to help some of the people that were impacted. Again, that is indiesportsticket.com. So Colts, Falcons, joint practice. The number one thing that I want to see is I want to see Arden Key or Jalen Tuimoloau make multiple plays. I want to hear about it. I want, when in the Patriots and Colts joint practice, they were doing one-on-ones between the offensive and defensive linemen, and there's this clip where Jalen Tuimoloau, spin move, he's at the quarterback in, less than a second. Great move. I want to see stuff like that from either Jalen Tuimoloau or from Arden Key, one way or the other. That is the number one thing for me. Chris, what is the first thing that you want to see from the Colts at joint practice?
I feel like towards the end of the Patriots preseason game, dude, they struggled to hold on to the ball. They
that's
good. What I mean? Yeah. I think they need to work on that a little bit more. Practice holding on to the ball for sure. That's what I would like to see.
That's totally fair. No fumbles, no interceptions, no Coleman Owen dropping a pass that falls into the hands of a defender. I'm going to nerd out here for a second. So when you look at the Colts roster, they normally carry 6 wide receivers. And right now when you look at it, the first 5 are pretty obvious. You've got Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Keenan Allen, Ashton Doolin, because he's going to play special teams, Nick Westbrook-Akina, another guy who can play special teams as a gunner. Also, I think, has shown that he can be a reliable receiver. Those are your, I think, undisputed 5 best receivers. And then there's one spot left for a 6th. I think that 6th wide receiver spot is going to go to one of Anthony Gould, Coleman Owen, or Deion Burks. And that's ultimately going to come down to who returns kickoffs and punts better. As I think that they want one of those guys to be their returner. We saw Coleman Owen return punts against New England. We saw Deion Burks return one of the kickoffs. That's kind of what I think. So I would like to see something about special teams, mainly one of those 3 guys kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack in terms of who the punt returner / kick returner is going to be.
You don't think they're going to do anything with DJ Montgomery? They're going to write him off.
Oh yeah. I don't think DJ Montgomery is going to make the roster.
You go back to the practice squad or back to your couch.
Same thing with Treadwell.
Right.
He's going to be he's going to be a good practice squad player. He'll make $250,000 doing that. Congratulations to those guys.
I think it goes to Gould or Burks, one of those two, because Gould, I know he's had a little experience with the Colts. Mostly, I saw him working special teams before.
Yes, so he returned punts last year. And he returned kickoffs too. I don't know what they're gonna do because
based on an experience between him and Burks, I think he would get it over him.
Yes, because when you look at Burks, he didn't return punts or kicks at Oklahoma. He did return kickoffs at Purdue though, and so that was 3 years ago. So it's an interesting thing because preseason wise, they gave Coleman Owen, if I remember correctly, every single punt returning snap. And they didn't give Burks one, which then again, this could be a thing like Richardson and Leonard, where they're going to split reps between them and all those things. But one of those guys is going to have an opportunity to earn that last spot, and it's probably going to be because of what they can do on special teams as opposed to what they can do as a receiver.
Yeah, probably something that'll work itself out through the rest of the preseason there.
For sure. I also would like for the Colts secondary to make Tua and Penix look like the average-ish quarterbacks that they are. Like, last week when they were doing their joint practices with the Patriots, it's like, all right, like it's Drake May and it's A.J. Brown, and they've got, a couple of nice tight ends. And Bell, please. Yeah.
I heard it in my head. Like, that's good enough.
And so they've got, those guys. And so, like, that was the Patriots are going to be able to throw the football this year. I don't know if the Falcons are going to be able to do that. And so I would like for Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward and the rest of this Colts secondary to make Tua and Michael Penix look average. Because if they show up and, like, we're reading reports on, like, Tua Tagovailoa is, like, 17 for 20 on the day, or, whatever it ends up being, then it's just kind of like, okay. That's not a good sign at all. So I would like to see them make Tua and Penix look like the average quarterbacks that they actually are. We'll see if they can do that or not, which I don't really know what that means. I don't know if that means like a lot of incompletions. Does that mean Cam Bynum has another pick? I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Probably just applying pressure and getting them out of the pocket because they're going to try to scramble, both of them. So, making them look average, like making them throw the ball, I think, and be a quarterback as opposed to Anthony Richardson like. Does that make sense?
It does.
Who's their third string in Atlanta?
Oh, that's a
Are we
great
going to see
question.
him at all this weekend?
I'm sure we'll see him in the preseason game on Saturday. But it's Cooper Rush.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
They're just hoarding the quarterbacks in Atlanta,
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's funny. So, but there's that. I think we're going to learn a lot about these linebackers, too, because I think the Falcons have the best 1-2 punch at running back in football. Bijan Robinson and, it's Bijan Robinson, and then it's Brian Robinson Jr.
Right, because Algier went to, like,
he went to Arizona. There it is. And like Brian Robinson Jr. is a good player. Like played well in Washington the past few years. Got stuck in San Francisco last year. But he's a good player. And so you know that they're going to look to run the ball with those guys, which you're not going to the ground in joint practices, and so it's kind of tough to tell. But at the same time, we're going to get a nice look at these linebackers in this defensive front in terms of how they stop the run.
They still have Drake London there, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, you'd imagine he's probably pretty upset about his quarterback selection right now. But I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Who would you start?
Tua's not a terrible. Right. I would start Tua, just because the problem that they're going to run into is Michael Penix can't stay healthy, and Tua can't stay healthy.
He's concussion prone.
Yeah, and Tua can't push the ball down the field because he doesn't have the arm strength for it. But he's incredibly accurate. Michael Penix has the ability to push the ball down the field, but he's not accurate enough on a down-to-down basis. And so they're very different in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. But I think it's kind of like a Colts and Daniel Jones over Richardson thing, where it's like, the ceiling, if Anthony Richardson were to fully develop, is higher with Richardson than it is with Jones. But like with Jones, what you're getting every single week. And I think that for the Falcons, they want to know what they're getting every single week. And I think that you get that with Tua, whereas you don't get that with with Michael Penix.
Yeah, I think for a while, I mean, right after the season ended last season, I think we were flirting with the idea of bringing Tua to Indy. We were like, no, let's not. I'm good on that.
As a Dolphins fan, let's not do that.
Right.
It sounds terrible. I'd also like to see the offensive line hold up. Not many people know this, Chris, but the Atlanta Falcons were second in the NFL in sacks last year.
Sacks allowed?
No, it's like total sacks.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they were second in sacking the quarterback last year. And so, which part of that is Raheem Morris was the head coach and, more of a defensive-minded guy. They had some nice blitz packages and things. But they got some guys over there who can really rush the passer. And so, it should be good work for the Colts offensive line. So, we'll see how they hold up. I'm going to be paying attention to Jalen Travis. How does he look? Because I think we feel pretty good about the other four guys. He's really the only question mark of the group. So I want to see how he holds up and the rest of this Colts offensive line.
You think they get to Riley a lot in the first half on Saturday?
I don't know.
What's the over-under on how many times Riley Leonard gets sacked?
How many times did he get sacked? Because he was, everybody was just crushing him after the game. But he was running for his life.
Right. I think in this situation, I would rather have Richardson because I know he's going to at least scramble.
Riley Leonard only got sacked once.
Okay.
Like that doesn't feel correct. I think he'll get sacked. Well, again, he was playing behind the third string offensive line. I don't think I think he'll be fine. I think he'll have time to throw.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of factors.
To give credit to the Colts backup offensive line, like they played really well in front of Richardson against New England. So I kind of like what I see there. But Colts Falcons joint practice today at 3:00. Can't wait for it. Coach Odom, Purdue head football coach, joining the show at 2:00. And we got Aaron Torres coming on at 1:20. We'll talk college football and more. But at 1:00, Chris and I set a line yesterday over under 1.5 instances in the Fever game.
Incidences.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's,
What's that word?
English is hard. And we need a ruling on if we get over 1.5 or not, because there's definitely one. We'll talk about whether or not a second thing is worthy or not of that hitting the over. We'll talk a little bit of Fever as well at 1:00. But first, Chris has yours. Sports update.
Thanks, Jonathan. Here's what's trending this hour. The Indiana Fever did sneak out of Toronto with a 6-point win over the Tempo, 101-95, getting their 5th straight win in the process. Kelsey Mitchell exploded for 16 points in the first quarter, finished with 29 on the night. That brings her impressive streak of games with 20 or more points to 20 games straight. Good for her. Caitlin Clark added 24 points and 7 assists. They'll now head to Dallas for a game with the Wings tomorrow night. 8:00 on WTHR, Channel 13. The Colts are hosting the Atlanta Falcons for joint practices at Grand Park in Westfield today and tomorrow. Keenan Allen expected to be there and participate in first-team reps with Daniel Jones. We'll see how that works. Colts will play the Falcons in their next preseason game on Saturday at Lucas Oil Stadium. And, of course, the Pacers finalized their regular season roster by officially signing former Purdue point guard Braden Smith to a 2-way contract. Tyrese Halliburton also trending for calling out the NBA for their scheduling choices, as the Pacers were only awarded 11 national TV games for the upcoming season. That's what's trending this hour. More of The Real Jonathan Smith Show in 4 minutes on Indy Sports Ticket 1430.
and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 2 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway. We got Aaron Torres joining the show here in about 20 minutes. We'll talk fifth-year eligibility for guys, the court ruling in Colorado that has allowed for fifth-year seniors to come back, for Indiana to add to their depth a little bit. We'll talk about how that impacts college basketball too. And, of course, we'll talk college football as we are like 10 days away. It's almost here. My wife is out of town on Saturday, and I was sitting around. I was like, what do I want to do? And the answer is I'm going to lay around all day and do nothing, because it's the final Saturday before I work every Saturday and Sunday for the foreseeable future. So I'm gonna kick my feet up, and I'm gonna do nothing. It's gonna be great.
Nothing is awesome sometimes.
Nothing is the best. I love doing nothing. There is nothing better.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I was talking to some people the other day, and they have kids, and me and Amelia do not. And they're like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're not doing anything. And they're like, so jealous.
Yeah, nothing is pretty awesome.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, one day, we'll have kids and stuff running around, and at that point, nothing will no longer be an option for me. So I think I'm going to embrace the opportunity to do nothing while I can.
You're absolutely right.
Oh, man.
You know what else is awesome, though?
What?
Going to Holiday World. We got tickets.
Yeah, I forgot.
To give
somebody.
Yeah,
this
you're over there doing nothing.
So. Yeah, I'm doing nothing. So I forgot about the Holiday World tickets. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win a couple of tickets to Holiday World. No trivia today because I've got a Caitlin Clark question that I'm very excited to discuss. I went to Holiday World on Saturday, had a great time. Me, my wife, and a couple buddies. We go riding water coasters and roller coasters, and it was awesome. We had a great time. Holiday World, it's an excellent experience. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win 2 tickets to Holiday World. I think we're giving away two pairs today.
Yeah. 4 altogether. And you can go with the previous winner, or you can go twice by yourself.
You can go twice. That's always an option.
Good time. Free drinks, free parking, and
free drinks.
And it's still a little warm to where you can enjoy the water park. I think that's open until September 13th.
Oh, yeah. It was 91 degrees on Saturday.
There you go.
So it's still plenty warm enough in southern Indiana.
If you happen to miss the water park before September 13th for Holiday World, they are open until November, though.
Oh, sick.
If you'd like to go and
love that.
I don't know, do roller coasters and whatever else they have. What other stuff do they have? The water park?
So they have a theme park. They have some roller coasters that are awesome. Like, I'll be honest. Amelia is telling me about Holiday World, and there are just certain things that if you do them as a kid, you remember them as being better than what they actually were.
Sure.
It's this nostalgia effect. And so we're driving down, and Amelia's telling me all this stuff. Her whole family's from southern Indiana. She said her mom used to work at Holiday World when she was in high school.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is gonna be fine or whatever. Bro, we get on the first roller coaster, and I'm like, whatever, not gonna be a big deal. So sick. I was like, we have to ride that again immediately. And so we had a blast. And so the Voyage is probably the big one there. Most of their coasters are wooden. So, a little shaky. That's okay. They have a steel one. I forget what it's called. But dude, you're like looping and corkscrewing, and that's my kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, go ahead.
Looping and corkscrewing. I don't like roller coasters. I'm good. I don't do heights. I'm gonna pass. I'm Jonathan out on coasters.
Fair
but
enough.
It sounds like an excellent time either way.
It was great. 317-228-1430 if you want a couple of tickets to Holiday World. Let me get to my Indiana Fever question now. Wait, no, we need to do our nonsense thing. So every time the Indiana Fever play, something happens. like some sort of just like nonsense thing where it's like, okay, I don't really want to talk about Sophie Cunningham getting clotheslined, but I kind of have to now because Stephanie White went on a 2-minute rant about it. And so last night we've got some things to pick from. I think the double technical fouls for Kelsey Mitchell and the tempo player, I think that counts as an incident.
For sure.
Is that fair? Okay.
Absolutely.
So there's one. Does the fact that they apparently don't have AC count as another? Does the fact that they went, 1980s Boston Celtics, making the building as hot as possible for when road teams come in, does that count as an incident?
This isn't the same arena that the Raptors play in, is it?
It should be.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I had no idea. Apparently, Kelsey Mitchell walked off the court
Overheating.
from overheating. Yeah, she said it was too hot.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm done.
And then, And then after the game, sorry, I just interrupted you.
No, you're good.
My fault. After the game, Caitlin Clark makes her comment about how it'd be nice if they had AC in Canada. Which, I mean,
how hot is it in Canada, though?
That's what I was about to ask.
Right.
I mean, if we're not getting above, 85.
Yeah, gym or not. I mean, it's still pretty cool
But
up
still,
north.
man, when you get like 15,000 people in one building and they all got that hot breath, it's like it gets warm.
That hot Toronto breath.
Dude, seriously.
But yeah, so that would be what 2 incidences or that would count
So
that it was hot?
I'm asking if that does count.
Okay.
And if not, does the Toronto people booing Sophie Cunningham every time she went to the foul line, does that count?
I mean, that was expected. But we didn't
expected.
We didn't expect. I mean, are we expecting technical fouls too? I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's fair. We are expecting I'm expecting a technical foul in every game.
So I think we might have went over because we're probably missing something somewhere. But with those 3 things alone, over 1.5 incidents last night. What's the plural for incident? Incidences?
Yeah, incidents. Okay. Just incidents.
We're learning English.
Yeah, we are. We're getting better on
ultimately,
the show.
Yeah, they won by
I'm gonna
6,
say
I think.
I'm gonna say that it hit the over.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that too.
It's just it's like one real one and then 2 half incidents. It gets us to 2. All right. So last night it was really late and I was just kind of I was watching my show and I had this thought. Is Caitlin Clark the most important athlete to her league ever? And I have this thought because if Caitlin Clark stopped playing basketball tomorrow, all of the interest in the WNBA, or a lot of the interest in the WNBA would evaporate. It would be gone. Poof. See you later. And when I look at other sports leagues throughout history, I don't think there's ever been an athlete quite like that. Because when you go over to the NBA, even when you go back, before Magic and Bird, like when you go back to the ABA, obviously a very different time. Like obviously Dr. J was like the guy at that time period, but there were other good players still playing basketball. Like Moses Malone was really popular. Tiny Archibald was very popular. And so I would argue that every phase of the NBA, like there's obviously one guy that's always more popular than everybody else, like how Caitlin Clark is more popular than everybody else. But there's always been a nice subset of stars in all of the men's league below the one really, really big one. Whereas in the WNBA, I don't think that's just not the case. It's Caitlin Clark, 100-foot gap. Wait, no, 1,000-foot gap. And then Asia Wilson and all the other players. Whereas, like, let's just work through the history of the NBA. If Wilt Chamberlain hadn't played, then Bill Russell would have been the guy that everybody rallied around, and vice versa. When you get to the 80s, if Magic and Bird don't play, then like people still liked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and they still liked Kevin McHale. When you get to the 90s, obviously it's Michael Jordan's league, but look at the 92 Dream Team. Karl Malone, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, was in the league at that time. So like there were other players to kind of rally around if Michael Jordan's not if Michael Jordan like Michael Jordan literally left to play baseball and did the NBA take a hit? Yes, but it was still a survivable league, right? And then you get to the 2000s, and it's Kobe Bryant, and it's Shaquille O'Neal, and it's Tracy McGrady, and it's Yao Ming, and it's Dirk, and Steve Nash. A lot of stars below Kobe, who was the guy at the time. And then the LeBron era shows up, right? And the LeBron era has been, 25 years long. So there's a lot of subsets. There's Kevin Durant. There's Steph Curry. There's Anthony Edwards now, and there's Tyrese Halliburton, and there's like a nice group of stars below whoever the highest guy is, right? Whereas with the WNBA, that's not the case. NFL, same thing. Same thing. You go back to the 80s. It's, Walter Payton and Dick Butkus. And I'm trying to think of who the great quarterbacks were in the 80s. This is going to bother me.
Joe Namath and all.
Yeah, like there's always been a nice grouping of quarterbacks, and as you get more modern, it's John Elway and it's Dan Marino, and then the Tom Brady and Peyton Manning era happens, and now you got the Allen and Burrow and Mahomes era, and so there's like a nice subset of guys where like if Patrick Mahomes left the NFL tomorrow, the NFL wouldn't change, everyone would still tune in on Sundays, and the NBA, if like LeBron's going to retire here at some point, and the league's going to keep trucking, and so on. Whereas with Caitlin Clark, if she left tomorrow, the WNBA would be absolutely screwed. And I think because of that, I would argue she's the most important athlete to her league ever.
I would partially agree with that. I think she's the most decorated player in the WNBA ever. But I think she's more of like a LeBron to the WNBA. Like, I personally don't think LeBron is the GOAT. He's a GOAT, but I don't think he's the GOAT, right? Like, I still put Jordan and sometimes Kobe above him. This is where I see Caitlin Clark because of Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie and Tamika Catchings. So, like, all time.
I'm not saying she's the best player ever.
Right.
I'm saying that when Tamika Catchings and Cheryl Swoop and Sue Bird, when they were all playing, no one watched.
This is true. But
and so, like, are there players throughout WNBA history who are better than Caitlin Clark? Probably. I'll be honest. My WNBA history, my bag there is not very deep. Okay. But in terms of like if Caitlin Clark left the WNBA tomorrow, like a lot of the people that watch the league would leave. And look, the league was struggling to survive before she showed up. It's doing a lot better now. If she randomly left, like I'm sure that there'd be some people who would stick around who have like started watching the WNBA because of her, and maybe they like a couple other players. But I think her impact on the league surpasses the impact of every other athlete in history.
Totally fair statement. And did you compare her to Tom Brady before? Because like when Tom Brady was done playing, everybody still watched the NFL. It was a big piece that walked away from the NFL when he retired, but
yes,
they didn't. Okay.
Yeah, like the NFL didn't need Tom Brady. The NFL doesn't need Mahomes. The NBA didn't need Michael Jordan. They didn't need Larry Bird and Magic. Like the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. Like without her, they're screwed, I would argue.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just, a thought kicking around in my brain last night.
It's almost like she has the league in the palm of her hands, doesn't it? You think like, you think she knows, or she probably doesn't carry that attitude.
She doesn't care.
But she has to know that like, man, if it wasn't for me, you guys would all be unemployed.
She has to know that. Yeah. Or, like the league would still be a thing. They just wouldn't have gotten the raises that they did.
Right.
Like they got the raises because of Caitlin Clark. It's just the very simple reality of it. And, the other players in the WNBA, they don't like hearing that. But, the truth hurts sometimes.
You think that's why they always go after her, though, and like try to provoke her to give technical fouls or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think they're just jealous? Man.
Yeah.
Like she's so much better than everybody else. And so, that's just kind of the way that it is. But I mean, yeah, Caitlin Clark, the most important figure in any league in history. I think that's a safe take. It feels a little crazy, but I think that's right. We got Aaron Torres joining the show coming up here at 1:20. We're going to talk about this new fifth-year rule, the court ruling in Colorado that is allowing all these guys to come back. We're going to talk some college football as well with Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres podcast in 3.5 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Aaron Torres for his podcast and YouTube channel joining the show to talk a little college football, fifth-year senior rule in college sports and how that's shifted a lot of things. Before we get to that, though, Aaron, first, how are you doing? How's vacation? How's all that?
So everything's good. I appreciate this new August transfer portal window that we have. It's certainly given me plenty of content. I would counter it by saying, and I tweeted this out yesterday, I truly believe it, we need college football preseason games. And I'm sorry if you don't want, if Kurt Cignetti doesn't want to play his starters, that's fine. It's actually kind of embarrassing for the sport that we're now 10 days away from week 0 kicking off. There's nothing to discuss. And I said this as well yesterday, college basketball, for all of its faults, we now have 3 preseason exhibition games. Purdue is playing at UConn this year in a preseason exhibition game, or maybe UConn's playing at Purdue. I can't remember. But, you go on and on down the list. There's summer tours, to the credit of guys like Mark Pope at Kentucky. They've opened practice to fans. And it's just, for all of college basketball's faults, they do a much better job of, when the season ends, keeping their fans engaged. I understand the scale isn't the same, but again, we're 10 days away from college football. What is the biggest national talking point outside of the same, 8 narratives that everybody is talking about, that we've been talking about since April? Pressure on Texas, Notre Dame put up or shut up. Is it Oregon's time? It's just, anyway, I've rambled long enough because I know you just asked me how I was doing.
No,
but
you're right.
we need to do something for this sport to get more people invested before the games actually kick off. Once the games kick off, obviously everything speaks for itself.
I think that's a really good point, because I don't know if you remember, I think it was 2 years ago, Coach Brown and Coach Sanders at Syracuse in Colorado wanted to do a joint practice.
Sure.
And the NCAA said, no, you can't do that, which is...
Yeah, and listen, that was an NCAA thing. I think that coaches are just against the idea of preseason games because they're either afraid of injuries or they're afraid of their good players getting poached. Well, guess what? The transfer portal doesn't open for 5 months, and they're going to get poached anyway. And again, basketball has 32 regular season games. Now they have 3 exhibition games. Little Rock is playing at Kentucky. If Little Rock's point guard goes off for 32 and 11 in an exhibition game against Kentucky, he is going to get poached, no different than if some running back rushes for 225 yards against Indiana in a preseason game. It's just stupid, this argument. And so I just, as a guy who has to create content, there's just, we're always going to find stuff to talk about. This is what we do as a profession, and I'm not complaining. I'm not digging ditches. Life isn't tough for me. I'm just saying that there has to be a better way to create excitement for this sport in August than what we have right now.
Yeah, because I think, again, to your point, games are just so much better than anything else. Like, we're getting so much run out of Colts preseason stuff, and it's all backups.
Listen, real quick, and I know I keep cutting you off.
No, you're good.
No, I mean, I hosted Fox Sports Radio Saturday night. We talked about Jackson Dart. We talked about Josh Allen. He only played a series or so. We talked about, Joe Burrow and Fernando Mendoza. And and we had calls and people were invested. And so again, maybe for Indiana, Josh Hoover doesn't play. Maybe he only plays the series. And then the last thing, and I promise I will stop at this point. Like the financial component of it, charge $5 to get in. I don't know how many people would show up at Indiana, but I'm guessing you get 30, 40,000 people. Not great at math, but parking concessions, that's millions more that can go in. These FCS and group of 5 teams that are getting squeezed out of the regular season because everybody's at 9 league games now, they get a little check. It just, it makes too much sense. And so like the joint practice thing was an NCAA no, but I don't know, man. It's not even like, it's like your parents say, like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Like, I'm not like mad. Like, okay, we'll get real games in 10 days. I'm just frustrated because it feels like we should have a lot more to talk about at this point. And again, as somebody who covers all college sports, for the most part, the mainstream ones, I am grateful for this transfer portal window that we've now gotten in August to at least get us through these first few weeks of August.
Absolutely. Joined by Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres podcast and YouTube page. Make sure you go and check those things out for all things college sports. And this 5th year ruling in Colorado that is allowing guys to come back. I know Indiana fans love it because they have an edge rusher back. They have a linebacker back. My thought process on it was we're going to see it impact football, but because the ruling was so late, guys have already gone off to the draft. college basketball is where I really think some of the shifts happen. Like there was talk about Braden Smith maybe coming back before he signed his two-way earlier in the week with the Pacers. Is there a team in particular that you think is really going to benefit from this ruling in college basketball?
Well, I got a little flack because when the Colorado ruling first came out, by the way, I agree with you. That's also, by the way, because I see a lot of people like they should have just waited until September to make the ruling on 5-5. Like college football teams have already started building out their 2027 rosters. Most high school recruiting is done at this point. You kind of need to know how many guys you're taking. Anyway, from the basketball perspective, I got flack because I said that I said it pretty bluntly, and I think some people that get offended by everything got offended. I said most of the players that are playing are not good. I think I used the term they suck. I think that was actually the term that I used that pissed people off. So I think what you're going to mostly get is, because again, these are players that by definition are not good enough to play in the NBA. And you go back to last year, who were the best players in college basketball? Cam Boozer, Darius Akefana. So I think I think what it really does is it helps like the middle of power conferences, as weird as that sounds. Like Texas Tech has added 3 guys. Darion Williams is really good. Donovan Atwell averaged double figures for them. Again, these aren't NBA players, but Texas Tech might have arguably just gotten like their 2 starters here in August that they wouldn't have otherwise had. Texas A&M, I thought, got a very good guard this week in Jordan Pope, who played ironically at Texas. And so these are very good college basketball players that can impact winning. I just don't think at this point, like if you need a superstar, you're in big trouble. And so I think, like I said, the teams that are going to benefit the most and so far appear to have benefited the most are teams that need depth, need a 5th starter, need something very specific. Jackson Kohler from Michigan State is now eligible to come back. And, it's kind of a BYU, Kansas recruitment kind of thing where they both need physicality in the front court. Maybe Kentucky's in the mix there as well. But those kind of players are the ones that are impacting things the most. Which I like because it raises the level of the sport just as a whole, which is something that we've seen from the transfer portal and the NIL stuff just in general. So let's get to college football because, like you said, we get games in 10 days. What do you make of Coach Cignetti backing out of every Power 4 non-conference game? Great question. First of all, I got flack because I kind of defended Cignetti on the Notre Dame thing, and a lot of people were not happy with that. That's okay. Listen, I forget if it was him or Matt Rule or maybe both that said that it's a Big Ten rule. It's not our rule, and we're just going to take advantage of it. And I think this year is going to be kind of an interesting year because you have the teams like Ohio State, Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma, that are really challenging themselves out of conference. And now again, with the SEC going to a 9th league game, I think we're going to see a lot of really good 9-3 teams this year. And again, the question has become, and I think the push from some of these conferences has been, it shouldn't be solely based who makes the playoff on win-loss record. Now, again, you go back to last year, who was the team that should have been in that got left out, or who was the team that got in that should have been left out? Texas was complaining because they're 9-3 and they played Ohio State. And it's like, okay, well, who are you going to leave out? Are you going to leave out a 12-1, 11-1 Ole Miss team? Like who? So anyway, so it should matter who you play. And so I think that's going to be the fascinating question. And I do think I will say, whether it's Indiana, whether it's USC, which as the Notre Dame audience listening has actively, at least for this 3-4 year period, pushed Notre Dame off the schedule. That's where I think it gets interesting is I don't blame teams, but if there's a glut of 10-2 teams, I think it could hurt Indiana. I think it could hurt USC. It could hurt Penn State. Those are the 3 that kind of jump to mind who really are not challenging themselves out of conference. But you got to be in that mix, and there has to be comparable competition, right? So let's just use, for example, Michigan finishes. Let's say Ohio State finishes 10-2, and Penn State finishes 10-2. Let's take Indiana out of it. If one of Ohio State's losses is at Texas, or on the flip side, if they have a great win on a conference, that's probably going to be the difference maker. So I don't have a problem with it. I think there is going to be somebody that has to deal with the consequences of it, and that will be the interesting thing come December when we're picking teams for the college football playoff.
Joined by Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres podcast. And yeah, I think that's exactly right, because my one frustration is probably not the right word, but to your point, like, so for so long, really ever since the college football playoff started happening, it's not rankings, it's standings. That's really what their rankings look like. And like, if it's going to be based off of record, then you don't want to play these games. But one of the pitches that I heard to go to 12 teams was there's more room for error. That way we would get more, we would get more games like this. And so that's my frustration on it. Because I'm excited for Ohio State and Texas, and when Michigan plays Oklahoma, like the SEC versus Big Ten stuff is great for the sport right now. And so I'd like to see more teams go outside and do it. I know the SEC, I think 15 of their 16 teams are playing a Power 4 non-conference game. Kentucky being the only one that's not. So I like the movement of it. Oh, you're right. Louisville,
yeah.
All of them. Every single one. Because in the SEC, they don't run from a fight, you know?
Yeah. No, that was the interesting pushback on Cignetti was we don't run from a fight, we don't make excuses, and then we kind of canceled on Indiana. So no, listen, and it's tough because it's tough for me. So I think 12 is the right amount for the college football playoff. I do think we're going to get to 24, unfortunately, eventually. And I think it's really going to hurt the regular season. And college football is by far the best regular season. Every other sport is trying to figure out ways to get people interested in their regular season, and college football is going to willingly punt. And what I think frustrates me even more is that everyone saw the checks coming at the idea of expansion, but nobody saw the consequences, right? So USC, we're going to go to the Big Ten. We're going to get so much more money. Okay, cool. Your schedule just got way, way, way tougher. I said, this all started obviously with Texas and Oklahoma. The day that story broke, I said, I don't believe this story, because why would Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina make their league tougher? Well, of course I was wrong on it. And now those same teams are complaining. Listen, I love Will Stein. He came on my show this summer. I enjoyed talking to him, but he's pushing for a 2014 playoff, and he would never say it. It's because he's got no chance. They have no chance. Like, you're never going to have a year where you're going to get into that top 4 when you now add Texas and Oklahoma to Alabama, Georgia, LSU, whoever. So I don't know, man. I feel like I'm complaining a lot today, and I love college sports, and I love what we do. I do think we largely have not smart people running it, or people that certainly do not care about the best interests of the ecosystem involved. But yeah, no, I love college sports, and I hope it's not coming off that I don't when we're discussing all this stuff.
Yeah, we can go positive here. Who's a college football team this year that you like a little bit more than everybody else?
Well, first of all, I mean, let's keep it local. I do think Indiana just feels like there's no not top 5. And I think, like you said, Jonathan, they're one of the few teams that actually did benefit from that court ruling. They got a couple, at minimum, they added depth, and I think they added really good depth to their defensive line. Outside of that, I think what'll be interesting is, one, does that 4th team emerge in the Big Ten? I think everybody in some order likes Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana. And the next tier is USC, Penn State, Washington, Michigan, in my opinion. You maybe add one, take one out, whatever. But what's interesting is all of those teams play each other. USC plays at Penn State. USC plays Michigan, or they play Washington at home. Washington gets Penn State at home. Michigan probably has the toughest draw out of all of them. And so I'm just more curious to see how it all plays out. And then the one team I will say that I am a little higher on than most in the SEC is Tennessee. Last year was a down year. They went 8-5 in a down year that included a bowl loss, so 8 regular season wins. They didn't have great wins, but they won 8 games. The defense, they bring in Jim Knowles, who everybody in Big Ten country is familiar with. He is now the defensive coordinator at Tennessee, so they should be much improved there. And Josh Heupel always figures out the quarterback situation. And so, that's the perfect example of what I was talking about a minute ago when I say there's no news, is that I see 20 different insiders every single day saying, oh, the Tennessee quarterback battle is going to be this, this, and this, but don't count out this, this, and this. And it's like, well, we think this is going to be the guy, but this guy might be the guy, but I do think Tennessee is the team. And the other thing too, with the schedule, not to bore people too much, but like you look at the schedule by the standard of the sport that we have now, it is pretty manageable. They get Alabama at home. It's easy to forget they've beaten Alabama the last 2 times Alabama's come to Neyland Stadium. They get LSU at home, which is tough, but it's going to be a Lane Kiffin return game for them. Texas early in the year, it'll be Texas's first road game. So most of their toughest games are at home. I think Tennessee's probably that team that not a lot of people are talking about as a playoff team that I haven't put out my bracket yet, but when I do, they'll probably be in there.
Sounds good. Joined by Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres podcast. A lot to respond to there. I like Tennessee too, so we can start there. I think of kind of that second tier of Big Ten schools. I think Penn State kind of has to be the pick just because they avoid Ohio State, Oregon, and IU, which is just like, you talk about winning the lottery. Like, you get to avoid all 3 of them. That's really nice.
And really quick, and I do wonder if this is the year, like you said, and like I said a minute ago, John, of the idea of not just ranking teams based on win-loss record, standings, et cetera. And it's going to be an interesting year because, again, you talk about a World War III that'll happen. Like if Ohio State's 9-3 and Penn State's 10-2, and it's like Ohio State played at Texas, they play a much tougher schedule. Ohio State has Oregon and Indiana on the schedule, plus Michigan and USC, which are arguably the 2 toughest games for Penn State. And it's like, 10 years ago, people forget this now, but Penn State beat Ohio State head-to-head and still got left out of the playoff. And it's like, this does feel like the year, though, that the schedules, especially in the Big Ten, are so imbalanced for certain teams that I will be curious if a Penn State, Washington, I think, relatively speaking, has somewhat manageable. Their final 2 games are Indiana and Oregon, but at least one of them's at home. But they missed Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this is the year that I'm kind of curious. I think we're going to get a 9-3 team into the college football playoff. And again, probably deservedly so if it's one of those Ohio State, Texas teams that really challenges itself out of conference.
Okay. I want to close on Indiana here. I think of them, Ohio State and Oregon, I think they're the 3rd best team. Because when I look at their wins last year,
This is Indiana you're talking about?
Yes. When you look at their wins last year, they won games because they ran the ball well and their defense was amazing. 2 things that they should be able to do again this year. But I thought that the differentiator for them was Fernando Mendoza made literally every single play. Like every time he needed to do something, he seemed to just kind of find a way. I like Josh Hoover. I don't think Josh Hoover is going to be the best quarterback in college football like Mendoza was last year. So that's my one hesitancy on them. Like, I think they're 11-1, 10-2 kind of team this year. What do you just kind of think of that opinion and of Josh Hoover?
Yeah, it's just, so I agree. And I think even Cignetti, he was at, I'm one of the sickos that like watched his whole press conference, didn't just come in for the part where he crushed the SEC. And he even said, people asked him like, what was the difference last year? And he's like, I have never had a group that day 1, hour 1, minute 1 was more locked in and never stopped being locked in, never took a day off, never cut corners. And so you can be really good and you can have a good culture and still not quite achieve that level. So I think even Cignetti is kind of aware of it. When you see what you saw last year, the way that they finished, the way that they beat Alabama and Oregon, it's just hard to pick against them in any capacity. Now, again, I understand that, they got to play Ohio State, and I understand they got to go to Michigan, and Nebraska on the road isn't going to be an easy spot. And Washington on the road, as I mentioned a minute ago, last road trip of the year, cross country flight. It'll probably be a 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 kickoff. It'll probably be dark and cold and rainy. It's just, I get all of that. It's just so hard to pick against that team and that coach when we saw what we saw last year. So yes, that is all a way of me saying 11-1 sounds right. Is the loss at Washington? Is it against Ohio State at home? If it's against Ohio State at home, what is the conversation about that? Blah, 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 blah. Yep. But I again, I haven't put out a bracket yet, but the thing about Cignetti, and again, I'll be quick here. He just doesn't lose games. We have a 2-year track record. He doesn't. Not only does he not lose games that he shouldn't, they're not close or competitive. And so then it just comes down to those 2 to 3 really big games. Are you going to go 2-1 in them to go 11-1 and leave no doubt? If you go 1-2, then again, is it held against you? The out of conference stuff. Those are conversations that we will have in November and December. And I promise you, if Indiana's on the cut line, they are not going to get a lot of sympathy from a lot of other people. So,
they're absolutely not. Absolutely not. But hey, that's what happens when you beat everybody the way that you did.
That's the crazy part. They go from, from a talk perspective, Cignetti certainly gives us in the media plenty to talk about, but it's like they have all of a sudden gone from completely irrelevant, no offense to any IU fans listening, to people view them as the most polarizing team. I don't know that I personally do, but like you ask the average Tennessee fan, Georgia fan, Texas fan, they're a quote unquote polarizing team. I find it fascinating.
Absolutely. What's coming up on the Aaron Torres podcast?
Who the heck knows? I mean, I'm waiting for some piece of relevant football news to be discussed. But no, we talked about the AP poll. We talked, CBS, I thought, did an interesting piece on the highest, the most expensive rosters in college football, which we talked about yesterday. And then we're going to get a slew of basketball portal commitments probably in the next couple of days. So we will be keeping our eyes out on that. So I, as much as I complain and as much as I do think we need some tangible rules in college sports, like I said, having an August portal window has given me something to talk about.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Aaron.
No problem. We'll talk soon, John. Thank you, man.
Yep, you got it. That is Aaron Torres. Make sure you check out his YouTube page, Aaron Torres. And you can also listen to the podcast as well. If you are looking to assist those who have been impacted by the floods in Indiana, go to indiessportsticket.com. There's a link there where you can donate and do some various things to help those that were impacted by all the floods throughout Indiana. We got Coach Barry Odom coming up at 2:00. Can't wait for that. Should be a fantastic time. But we're going to keep talking Colts and this joint practice against the Falcons in 3 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
We got Coach Barry Odom joining the show here in about 13 minutes. We will talk about Purdue's upcoming football season. Big thanks to Aaron Torres in that last segment for joining the show. Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also watch the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. Of course, the Indy Sports Ticket app and 1430 AM as well if you want to listen that way. The Colts have a joint practice against the Falcons today coming up at 3 o'clock. And Chris told me earlier off the air, Keenan Allen is expected to be out there. And I'm so intrigued to kind of hear what we're going to see from him. Because I honestly, he can drop every ball. He can run horrific routes. I just want to hear that he's in shape. Because he is 34 years old. He hadn't signed a contract anywhere. And sometimes, you know, when you've been as successful as Keenan Allen has, third all time in the NFL in receptions, you know, you get a little complacent. So I would like to, you know, to hear that he came in. There's no beer belly, nothing crazy like that. I'll be honest, the fact that he was on Twitter yesterday asking for the best, you know, private chef private chef and masseuse in Indianapolis, you know, I think that points to good things. So I just want him to be in shape, and I want him to look serviceable. I think anything better than that is just kind of icing on the already baked cake. Chris, what are you hoping to hear about Keenan Allen today during the joint practice?
Hope that he doesn't hurt himself. Like, let's stay away from injuries altogether from the entire team. But I would just like to, see him bond a little bit, I guess, with Daniel Jones. He already has the relationship with Steichen. So let's just get some bonding action there, become teammates, and get comfortable.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. Like, which I would think he'd be pretty comfortable pretty quickly just because, like, he's been in the Shane Steichen offense before. And, you know, when you go back to, I believe it's 2021, that's the one season where Keenan Allen is playing for Shane Steichen, where Shane Steichen's the actual offensive coordinator as opposed to just being the quarterback's coach. And that's one of the best years of Keenan Allen's career, 106 receptions for over 1,100 yards and six touchdowns. Ended up making the Pro Bowl that year, which you should. 100 receptions and 1,000 yards, absolutely. So, I mean, I think he'll slide in pretty well. I'm interested to see. Yeah, good. That was good. That was good.
Sorry, that was loud.
Nope, you're good. So I think he'll slide in pretty well. The one thing that I am intrigued to kind of see is how much does Josh Downs play out wide now? Because he is still their second best receiver. He still can play that Z spot. So he's, instead of starting on the line of scrimmage, he's starting off, which helps you get a better release and all those things. And he is supposed to be their second best receiver this year. But obviously Josh Downs is more of a slot receiver than he is anything else. And so with the addition of Keenan Allen, I'm interested to see if his opportunities outside of the hashes increase or not.
I thought you were joking about the tweet about needing the personal chef and masseuse.
Oh no,
I just read that.
Yeah, no, he actually tweeted that.
That's legit.
Which that tells me he's trying to stay or he was staying in shape, eating the right foods. Look, when you're 34 trying to play in the NFL, then I mean,
ultimately underrated,
you have to.
though. Right. Definitely underrated, man. He's first in receptions among active wide receivers right now, third in receiving yards, fourth in receiving touchdowns actively right now. And what did I say yesterday? Less than 50 receptions away from being third all time. Dude's going to work out. I think he's going to rotate with Josh Downs, to be honest. He's not going to take a spot, but I could see them alternating the third spot.
Yeah, or
the third most.
Or if he looks really good, they'll just put all three of them on the field.
Right.
So it'll be an exciting thing. I'm naturally excited about it. Like this is an offense that should absolutely score a lot of points this year. No matter who they're playing. I think that the talent level on this roster is to a point where it's like if you're not scoring, 21 plus every game, regardless of the defense that you're facing, then something went wrong that shouldn't have. Like I've talked a lot about the Baltimore Ravens and that Week 1 defense that the Colts are going to be dealing with. There's not a hole on the offensive side of the football. They've got 3 good receivers. They've got Jonathan Taylor as a running back, a good offensive line, and then you got Daniel Jones. If things fall apart, it's going to be really hard to deflect the blame away from Daniel Jones, even though if he does struggle, you're going to hear people bring up the Achilles. Now he's coming back off of a torn Achilles. And I'm just going to bring up all the times that the writers and things said that he looked like he never got hurt. So hard for that to be an excuse when it doesn't really look like it impacted you at all. So speaking of not impacting me at all, Jonathan Taylor came in at number 17 on the NFL Players Top 100 list. I think that the NFL Players list is dumb. I never agree with any of it. Chris, do you care about the list?
It's all opinion, right? We're going to make our list too. And there's a lot of people that are going to be like, so what?
But the players are like so off every year. I mean, it's like they unveil the list and it's like, I don't know where Mahomes is at, but if Mahomes isn't 1, then the list is invalid.
Right.
Like, that's how I feel about it, at least.
I mean,
I guess if you put Josh Allen 1, I guess I'd have to be okay with that. But like if Mahomes and Allen aren't 1 and 2, followed by Myles Garrett at 3, I think that your list is wrong.
Yeah, I feel better if it was like a range, right? Like Mahomes and
like tiers instead,
right? Like 1 through 10. I would put them in the 1 to 10 range, or Jonathan Taylor in the 10 to 20 range. I'd feel a little bit better about that. I don't know about like right at 17 or right at, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. I would feel better there, but unnecessary. Side news: Seahawks just signed Trayvon Diggs to a 1-year deal, so there was that, and they're also dealing with Terrion Arnold, who they're trying to sign, but with all his legal stuff going on, if he does sign with the Seahawks, he will not be able to practice. How about that?
Interesting stuff there.
Not until his whatever court days and stuff goes through because of his stuff. So Seahawks over there making some noise.
Did you see one of the most ironic brand deals ever yesterday?
No, I missed that.
Georgia football has a deal with Progressive.
Really? Why is it
car insurance?
And that's
all the Georgia players that get in trouble for speeding and all those things. I just think it's really funny.
Do they get a discount on their insurance?
They should. They need it desperately. Desperately. All right. We got Purdue head football coach Barry Odom joining the show here at 2:00. Can't wait to have him on. We'll talk a lot of Purdue football. Should be a great time. Coach Odom joins the show at 2. But first, Chris has your sports update.
Quick sports update of what's trending this hour. The Indiana Fever snuck out of Toronto with a 6-point win over the Tempo, 101-95, getting their 5th straight win in the process. Kelsey Mitchell exploded for 16 points in the first quarter, finished with 29 on the night, bringing her impressive streak of games with 20 or more points to 20 games straight. Caitlin Clark added 24 points, 7 assists. They'll now head to Dallas for a game with the Wings tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on WTHR Channel 13. Colts are hosting the Atlanta Falcons for joint practices at Grand Park in Westfield today and tomorrow. Keenan Allen expected to be there and participate in first-team reps with Daniel Jones. We'll let you know how that goes. Colts play the Falcons in their next preseason game on Saturday at Lucas Oil Stadium. And finally, the Pacers finalized their regular season roster by officially signing former Purdue point guard Braden Smith to a 2-way contract. Tyrese Halliburton also trending for calling out the NBA for their scheduling choices, as the Pacers were only awarded 11 national TV games for the upcoming season. Tyrese is not happy with the NBA right now. That's what's trending this hour. More of the Real Jonathan Smith Show in 4 minutes on Indy Sports Ticket 1430.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 3 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway in a pretty awesome way. We've got head football coach Barry Odom from Purdue joining the show. Coach Odom, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on today, and hope you guys are doing awesome.
We're doing great, Coach. We're doing great. So, Coach, I am from Arkansas. My listeners know I am a huge Razorback fan. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you that their performances on Saturdays impact my mood way too much. And I was thinking about your defenses when you were there, and I always thought that your defenses were physical and tough and smart. How much of that is a coaching thing versus a players that you decide to recruit?
I think there's a combination of, it's got to be the right blend. Number one, it's got to be program belief oriented on how you want to play, and certainly you got to get the right fit for the culture of your team. We were fortunate there that We had a lot of really good players on that side of the ball when I was there. And they played at times maybe above their skill set because they did everything right. They prepared the right way. They practiced the right way. They were hungry. They understood on how important their job was and their role was. And I think, it's interesting you brought that up. I had a meeting with the defense 2 nights ago, and I showed about 40 to 45 clips of the 2021 defense that we had there. And it was one of the hardest playing teams that I've ever been a part of. And it's some of the things that I think you can erase a lot of mistakes just with how you play the game and the ability to show your competitive spirit. So I like what our current group is doing. I think there is certainly an opportunity for us to improve in a great way defensively in some of the things that we're doing, not only structurally, but also just the way that our guys play and the mentality. So, we've got a few days to continue to try to get game ready, but I like the progress that they've made.
Yeah, I went back and I listened to all your media hits at Big Ten Media Days, and you talked a lot about just kind of the improvements in your team over the last 8 months, and specifically, you said that you've seen your team make gains and habits that it takes to win Big Ten games. What are those habits?
Yeah, I think number one, it's actually being a team, and that sounds very elementary, but we've had this group since we started in January, so they've galvanized together. They've worked really hard together. They've worked to become really close together, and in the world of transfers and portal and the things that college football is today, sometimes that's hard to do. I think it has certainly helped us with one portal window on being able to really become a team and a cohesive unit. So the guys have done a really good job of that. We were deliberate about it after the end of last season on our approach in that way. But also they're guys that really they like to play the game, and there's a lot to that. They're the measurables in not only the strength gains, but the explosive numbers in the weight room and our off-season work are starting to show up on the field. Being, football functioning speed and strength and change of direction and explosion, those numbers are starting to look like a real Big Ten team. And then the opportunity for us on the line of scrimmage to play a physical brand of football, how important it is every single week. And I think those things are trending in the right direction for us.
That's good to hear, Coach. I am curious to know, so much like football, obviously a very physical game, and I think that whenever you're coming into a new program, because look, the program that you took over was in a pretty tough place. I feel like the hardest thing to kind of build up is depth. How do you feel like the depth of your team is this year?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think that gets lost a lot in the conversation of what it looks like to have not only a competitive winning team, but then also the depth to be able to do it. And 12-week season plus a bye week plus fall camp. It's a strain. It's a grind. So the better depth you have, the more competition you have at each spot, the better your team's going to be. And in those regards, we're light years ahead of where we were last year at this time, which is certainly a positive.
Joined by Coach Odom, head coach of Purdue football. How much easier is the offseason with only 30 transfers compared to 60 like you had last year?
Yeah, I don't know that I would call it easy. More manageable, but also we've signed 2 really good high school classes. We did what we had to the first year I was here on building a team, and we had 87 new players, and that changed dramatically. Fortunately for us right now, we've only got 12 guys that are in their last year of eligibility. So how important that is to retain guys in your roster, your organization, to develop them. And then also it'd be huge for us at the end of this year to be able to retain the guys that we really want, and they want to be here. So how important that piece is. Just the roster management side of college football has changed, dramatically in the last 2 years. And I don't think that it's going to slow down at this point. So, we'll have some attrition. I certainly don't want that. I want to get guys in the program and have a chance to work with them for multiple years. And I think the teams over time that can prove that they can do that will eventually be the ones that win out in the long game.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think that when you look at some of the better teams in college football, teams like Ohio State come to mind. That kind of seems to be their blueprint. They have guys in the program for a few years, and then they kind of go into the portal to grab a player or two that they feel like they really need, or a really talented player comes available. Is that kind of, I guess, your vision for how building rosters are going to look for you at Purdue?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different views on what the ideal organization or team looks like, and every program is going to be different. For us, certainly, we're going to stay heavily recruiting in the high school ranks, and I think we've got a chance to develop, because you look in the 5-hour radius from West Lafayette, there's great coaches and really good players, and we've got to be able to find a way to keep those guys to home, so to speak, and then also being very select, direct, and aggressive in having a chance to attract transfers here. And I think then you blend those two areas together, and then you have the making of a winning football program.
Okay. So, Coach, I feel like anytime any coach takes over a new program, a question that they get asked a lot is like, what needs to change? And you've had the job for 20-ish months now. What is something that has changed in the last year for the better, outside of, you mentioned earlier, the team kind of feeling more cohesive as a unit? Besides that, what's something else that you feel like has changed for the better?
Yeah, I think overall the consistency of the people within the organization going in onto year 2. I think we've got a great staff, and when I say staff, I'm talking every single person that touches your student athletes on a daily basis. So sports medicine, nutrition, strength and conditioning, all those different areas, on how important they are in the opportunity to provide your student athletes, what they need to be successful. We're in a good spot. I'm thankful for the people that we have here. You get into the rhythm and the flow, and I think that we're hitting on all cylinders right now. Our guys are thriving. We're moving in the right direction. We've practiced really well. It's an efficient organization in our structure. And I think the consistency of what that looks like, that's been really, really good for Purdue.
Joined by Coach Odom, head football coach at Purdue. So, Coach, I'll ask you about your team now. What do you like about your team this year as you guys get ready for the season to start?
Yeah, I think I'll start offensively. I think we've improved on the line of scrimmage. The ability to consistently run the football is a main focal point offensively coming out of in the off season. I think we've addressed some of those needs. Now we've got to be able to go do it and be able to count on it. The run game in this conference is so important as it is in college football, and it doesn't matter if you're home, away, or neutral site. If you've got the run game on your side, then you've got a chance. I think we've got improved quarterback play in Ryan going into his second year of really being a starter, and we've surrounded him with some really big-time playmakers, not only at tight end and receiver, but in the running back room. So overall, I think much improved offensively, and we've been able to build on some of the things that we did last year, but also more of an attacking style, which will help us. And then defensively, again, I'm going to start on the line of scrimmage, the ability to develop the guys we have in the program that stayed. And then also we've had some really good additions that I think we can have an opportunity to put pressure on the quarterback. We've got to be good against stopping the run, and that's where it starts. And then athletically speaking, defensively, just our movement, our explosive ways of playing, the ability to tackle in space, more athletic, and a longer physically looking group size-wise, which will help us a great deal.
What about the inverse of that? What concerns do you maybe have about your team this year?
Yeah, I think you look at some positions, the lack of depth in regards to playing like real life football. I think we've got depth in spots. We've got proven depth in other spots, and then we all were freshman or sophomore at some time, and you've got to go earn it. And you look at, okay, how many guys can we get game ready before the first game, and then the sprint to how many can we get ready by game in week 2. The ever-ending pursuit of what that looks like. You just want to make sure you're doing enough for your program in every area to make sure you get the right guys in the right spots to be able to play winning football.
Last thing for you, Coach, and I'll let you go. Who is I'm really excited to watch Ryan this year in year 2. I just think so much of playing quarterback is being comfortable. Who is a guy this year that we didn't see play for you last year that you think is just going to be really important to the success of your group?
Xavier Townsend on offense, transfer from Iowa State, plays receiver. Really excited about his abilities on that side of the ball. And then defensively, a number of guys, but I'm going to start with Jeremy Lewis, defensive end that transferred from Iowa Western Junior College, where he won a national championship, and has been really on, in a world of where you need somebody at that position to disrupt the quarterback and become an every down guy. He's had a really, really good camp.
Okay, Coach, that's great to hear. I know I'm rooting for you in a big way. Just I loved what you did when you were at Arkansas. My wife's whole family went to Purdue, so I'll be pulling for you. We're excited for the season to start. Thanks for your time, Coach.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
I'm you're excited, but not as much as I am.
That's
to get
good.
into Ross 8 on Friday night at 7:00. It'll be here fast, and I know our fans are going to be excited about how we go play this year.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Yep, that is Coach Barry Odom. Man, I want him to win so bad, Chris. Like he just seems like he seems like a really good guy. He seems normal. It sounds like, look, I don't think Purdue's going to come out and like go 9-3 this year and compete for a playoff spot. But just hearing how he's talked about his team this year compared to last year, I do think there's some real momentum there. Then again, when you go 2-10, not hard to improve off of that,
Sounded really comfortable, and it sounds like he's happy to be where he's at, and wish them all the best, all the luck in Purdue this upcoming season.
Look, if you come on the show, we have to root for you.
Absolutely.
That's just how it works. I think that's how it works with every show. So I guess that means we don't have to root for IU or the Colts, but we'll do that anyway. That's what's for the best of the show. Speaking of the Indianapolis Colts, 3:00 today, they've got their joint practice coming up against the Atlanta Falcons. Can't wait to hear all the storylines coming out of that. But the big news, Keenan Allen officially signed with the Indianapolis Colts a couple of days ago. In order for the Colts to get back to the playoffs and to get over this, 8-9, 9-8 hump, the offense is going to have to lead the way. We'll do Over the Hump Day in 3 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt. Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Big thanks to Barry Odom for joining us in that last segment. Purdue football starts up here in a couple of weeks. Indiana football as well. College football in general. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great. Chris, I'm so excited for you to get to experience the joys of college football this year.
I can tell you're very excited.
Dude,
It's not like I haven't watched it before.
Yeah.
I'm just paying more attention to it now because of my job.
But when you get really invested and it's an amazing sport. I love it so much.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. The NFL, great sport as well. And the Indianapolis Colts, they've just been stuck in purgatory for so long. 8-9, 9-8, having the 14th, 15th, or 16th pick in the NFL draft. And it is such a tough rut to find a way out of. And, that's a problem for Chris Ballard and company because the playoffs are the end-all, be-all this year for the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard's job depends on it. Shane Steichen's job might depend on it. I think it's truly up in the air for him. Everyone knows the deal. This isn't a rebuilding year where you're test driving a hybrid to see if you like it. Okay, this is a CEO who took out a high interest loan and needs a quarter of record revenue right now, or security is going to escort him out of the building. Okay, in order for the Colts to be a playoff team this year, the offense is going to have to lead the way. You can make a strong case that the Colts offensive line this year is better than it was. You can make a case that the pass catchers are better this year. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's back. Like this Colts offense as a whole is better, I think, this year than last year's. They bring back the same offensive line, except for Braden Smith. He was probably the Colts' worst starting offensive lineman last year. Jalen Travis should be able to perform as well as Braden Smith did, or better. I personally think that he's going to be better. Moves well. He's a bigger dude, 6'8", 340, just like I don't even know. He looks like, size-wise, he looks like one of those big walk-in freezers that they have in restaurants. Just a massive human being. So I think he'll be just as good as, if not better, than Braden Smith last year, just from what we saw from him last year in the snaps that he did play. Tanner Bortolini is in his second season as a full-time starter, so you would think that would lead to him being a better center. Matt Gonsalves is in year 2 as a starting offensive guard. He had a pretty good year last year. I would expect for him to be better this year because he's got a full season of starting under his belt. Pass catchers, they're the same, except Michael Pittman Jr. is gone. He was replaced by Keenan Allen, who was better than Michael Pittman was last year. When you look at their EPA last year, it's abundantly clear that Keenan Allen is better. If you don't know what EPA is, it stands for expected points added. It tells you basically how much a play moved the needle. So if a play makes it more likely that the offense will score next, it has a positive EPA. If a play hurts those chances, like a sack or an interception, it has a negative EPA. And this is a great stat because traditional stats like receiving yards and receptions can be misleading because they don't account for all of the context. A 6-yard gain on 3rd and 8 looks fine on paper, but you failed to pick up a first down. That's not good. So EPA shows that as a negative play. Whereas on the flip side, if it's 3rd and 2 and Jonathan Taylor runs the ball for 3 yards, on a stat sheet that doesn't look great, but if you run the ball on 3rd and 2 for 3 yards, that's a big deal. You moved the sticks. Your chances of scoring went up. So EPA shows that value. So now that you kind of have an idea of what EPA is, Keenan Allen's total EPA against zone coverage was 55.29 last year. That was 18th in the NFL. Michael Pittman's was 45.17. That was 28th in the NFL. So against zone coverage, Michael Pittman may have had more receptions or more yards, but in terms of impacting winning, in terms of making plays that lead to touchdowns, Keenan Allen was better. And ultimately, scoring touchdowns is all that matters. So there's that. And then against man, it's more of the same. Keenan Allen's EPA against man coverage was 24.47. That was 20th in the NFL. Michael Pittman's EPA against man last year was 14.85, which was 44th in the NFL. Keenan Allen was the more impactful receiver last year, even if his numbers weren't as good. Last year, 81 receptions for 777 yards. Michael Pittman, 80 receptions for 784 yards. That's kind of crazy how similar their numbers are. I didn't expect to see that. But still, Keenan Allen made more high leverage grabs to to move the chains and things of that nature. So I think that they improved there. You would also expect for Tyler Warren to be better in his second NFL season, coming off a very dominant rookie year where NFL scouts, general managers, and head coaches voted him as the 5th best tight end in football. Dude's a stud. He's going to lead the Colts in receiving this year. I think he'll lead them in both receptions and in receiving yards. Alec Pierce is going to put up better numbers because he's going to be asked to do more than just win deep. We'll see how Downs looks this year. I expect him to be better, but with the addition of Keenan Allen, we'll see how many targets he gets because some of those are definitely going to go to Keenan Allen, whereas beforehand, if it had been Ashton Dulin as wide receiver 3, Downs would have retained a lot of those targets. So the pass catchers as a group are better this year than they were last year. At running back, you still have Jonathan Taylor. Seth McGowan might be an upgrade over DJ Giddens and Ulysses Bentley IV, dope name. They should have more depth there. Okay, now maybe it's to a point where, Jonathan Taylor has less carries and he's fresher at the end of games. So instead of him carrying it 33 times a game, he's at like 25. I like that number way more for a 27-year-old running back. So if McGowan could get to that point where he can handle 7 or 8 carries a game, that would be really nice. Okay, with that being said, I'll say what I've said so many times when I've talked about this backup running back spot. Do you really want to take Jonathan Taylor off the field to give the ball to Seth McGowan? No. So there's a decent chance that the Colts' offensive line is better, their pass catchers are better, and they still have one of the 3 best running backs in football. This was an offense that averaged 27.4 points per game last year. I don't know if they're going to match that because their schedule is tougher this year. But if they're going to make the playoffs, the offense has to lead the way. This has to be a top 10 offense in football, and that comes back to Daniel Jones. This is the best supporting cast he's ever had. The receivers and the offensive lines in New York were never this good. You can make a case that his weapons are better this year than they were last year. Daniel Jones should have a huge season. Daniel Jones should set personal career highs in everything. Like his career high in passing yards, he came in 2022 where he threw for 3,200 yards. He should top that. It's tough to ask him to throw more than 24 touchdown passes like he did in 2019. When you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor, and when the Colts get in close, they're going to run the ball. So maybe he doesn't top that number, but he should certainly set a personal best in passing yards. I think he should flirt with 4,000 passing yards on the year. He should throw for 250 yards a game. He should have a really big year this year. Like when he's done, the Colts should be like, all right, long-term extension. Let's go ahead and put pen to paper, and then we can all be concerned that they overpaid him because Daniel Jones is a quarterback that needs to be supported. And he is this year. He is. For years in New York, Daniel Jones was handed a broken lawnmower and expected to win a Formula One race. And now, here in Indianapolis, they've handed him the keys to a brand new Ferrari with some top-tier tires and a tuned engine. So if he crashes into the wall now, it's not the car. It's the driver. The support's outstanding. He has a head coach that even if you don't like, Shane Steichen clearly isn't an idiot. Okay, he's not Brian Callahan in Tennessee last year, who didn't make it through, 2 years, however long he was there for. He's not, Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, who got fired after 1 year. He's clearly at a minimum a capable head coach. This should be one of the best offenses in the NFL this year. They had one of the best offenses in the NFL last year, even though Daniel Jones missed 5 games. If he stays healthy, this should be a top 10 offense leading a charge to the playoffs. And honestly, they could probably flirt with a top 5 offense. They were 7th last year with Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard taking snaps in the final 5 games. If it's Daniel Jones the whole way, watch out. The Colts should score a ton of points. And then from there, we're going to be asking questions about the defense, which, look, if you score a lot of points, you make the other team throw the ball more. Against the secondary, I think that you like that. So it's all going to come back to Daniel Jones, a guy that I've been pretty tough on throughout his time here in Indianapolis, just because I want to see more. 8 good games against, not the best competition isn't enough for me. And he's going to have a real opportunity this year to have a really nice season because the Colts should be able to run it, and they have the pass catchers around him to help him out. Chris, what do you make of the idea of this being the best supporting cast Daniel Jones has ever had?
In Indy, yeah. Indy, yes. I think he had an okay setup in New York, but he just wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? He still had his own personal bugs to worry about. He never really went full circle. I think he's in a good spot here for sure. But I don't know. He didn't have an awful setup around him in New York, though.
I don't know. I didn't feel like the offensive lines there were ever very good.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, Barkley's is really nice. Is a really nice piece to have. I think he got Malik Neighbors for 1 year. I don't know if he played with
end.
Did he play with OBJ at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought he showed up right after.
He had Sterling Shepard, and
he's okay.
Right. I mean, depending on who has been in and out of the doors of the Giants locker room as of late before Malik Neighbors. But I don't know, man. It's as of right now is all that matters. And he's in a good position. As long as he stays healthy, it'll work itself out. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm no, you're not. You think they're going to go 7-10?
That doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to it, though. I don't want to see them lose. That's just how I feel. But
okay.
I'm still excited for the season.
Do you like the offense?
Can you be more specific?
Do you like the Colts offense?
Yeah,
as a whole. Okay. Do you like the Colts defense as a whole?
With the exception of the edge, the hold at the edge position, yes.
Yeah. Oh man. What's like? I want to be like, why 7-10? Meanwhile, I'm over here like 8-9.
A lot of it's like if they played, Tennessee every week. Obviously, I'd feel better about it. But I'm thinking about who they're playing and who they have to go up against if they're healthy. So I'm just kind of factoring in other teams, like because you don't think that the Colts will just go in and wipe the floor with the entire NFL.
Yeah, to your point,
I'm a realist, unfortunately, and I suck at lying.
To your point on, if the Colts played the Titans every week, we'd feel pretty good about them. Like, good is relative. Like if you take the Colts and you put them in the Big Ten, they're going to look pretty great. Right. And so my question is just like relative to this schedule, because I don't think it's an easy schedule. Relative to this schedule, like how good are they? And that's where, like you said, the lack of a proven edge rusher really becomes an issue. Because I think relative to the schedule, they're going to score a lot of points. I don't know how many stops they're going to get when you can't rush the passer and therefore can't get off the field on third down.
I think if we all had the same view or passion that the flow does, then like we'd be all.
Oh, dude, 17-0. We're not losing.
We would all be on a cloud about the Colts, but the reality of it is, because I mean, it's just they can paint a pretty picture all they want before every season, but we all know how it's going to turn out, especially with the circumstances with Chris Ballard and this, that, and the other. I know that every Colts fan wants to see him go 17-0, but the reality of it is, it's not
there's actually, I don't think there are. I think there's some people out there that are like, can we go 4-13 so we can get Ballard out of here? I definitely think there are some Colts fans out there that are like that.
Sure, that too.
But the normal ones want them to go 17-0 because like last year when they were good at the start of the season, it was so much fun.
It was
because we weren't here talking. Go ahead.
We were on top of the world. We just got done watching, the Pacers go into the NBA Finals, and now we have an excellent football team. We're just Indiana's ruling the world until Daniel Jones went down.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, when I say the 7-10 and stuff like that, yeah, I do want to see them win, but we haven't seen Daniel Jones in football mode since before he went down. And like we know that Achilles is not going to be just like, you got a brand new Achilles. There's going to be some aftershock to that, and he's not going to be the Daniel Jones that he was before he went down. Hopefully he's getting towards working towards being as good as he was, but it's not going to be the same.
I think
reality.
I think that people forget how good the Colts offense was. Not saying that like people think that it's worse or anything like that, but through like the first 8 weeks of the season, they had the most efficient offense in the history of the NFL. And I don't think that they're necessarily going to be able to do that again.
What do you think would have to change for them to have that kind of start like they did last season?
The schedule would have to change.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like let's go back and look at it, right? So this year it's Baltimore, Kansas City, and Houston the first 3 weeks. Last year it was Miami, who sucked. Denver, where Jones played his best game of the year, I thought. And then the Titans.
Which we almost lost that Broncos game, right? Because that was the one with the field goal situation.
It is the one with the field goal. And then, week 3 they play the Titans. And so like that's way easier than Chiefs, Ravens, and Houston.
Right. Do you have the schedule pulled up right now?
I've got the 2025 schedule up. I can flip over.
So just like let's look 2 weeks further ahead after those 3 tough games, right? Because I know Pittsburgh's one of them.
Yep. So they play Washington and London.
Okay.
And I think the Colts are better than Washington. The problem is the games in London are weird. And then I think the Colts have a better roster than Pittsburgh, but they're going to go from London to Indy to Pittsburgh.
On top of that,
in a week.
On top of that, the week before the Steelers play the Colts, they're on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
So they have extra rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see this like, I know you're hoping for 2-3 in this 5-game series here, but I would be happy to see one win, but
I think the best way to get to 2-3 to start the season, because look, if they start 2-3, the schedule gets so much easier from there. I think that the best way to do that, you need to beat Washington in London, and then you got to find a way to win one against Baltimore or Houston at home.
But in order to prove that you're an eligible playoff worthy team, shouldn't you win 4 out of these 5 games?
If they won 4 out of the 5, I think we'd be talking like AFC Championship game.
I don't know,
seriously.
Man.
Whereas
but like in reality of,
because like in reality, they have to get to 10-7.
Right.
If they can get to 10-7, they're a playoff team. And I think 2-3 the first 5 weeks, if things then go the way that they should, and to Coach Steichen's credit, the Colts usually win games that they're supposed to. So like you start 2-3. If you beat the Titans twice, which you should, that's 4-3. If you beat the Browns, that's 5-3. You get the Giants at home, who are an interesting team. If you win that one, you're 6-3. If you beat the Dolphins at home, you're 7-3. And then you've got to find 3 more wins between Jacksonville twice, the Bengals, who probably won't have Joe Burrow week 16 because that's the way that it normally goes, Philadelphia or Houston again, or Dallas. I think you can find 3 wins in there.
Jacksonville for sure if it's a home one.
Well, yeah. Well, they play them twice.
I don't feel good about Dallas or Houston. Is that what you said? The 2.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, there's so many teams in the NFL that are like on the Colts schedule that are just really volatile. Like, I think the Ravens are going to be good. I think the Chiefs are going to be good. I think the Texans are going to be good, even though they lost Jaden Higgins for the year. I don't think Washington's going to be good, but the last time Jaden Daniels was healthy, they got to the NFC title game. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be a barn burner, but they're going to, I think, contend for the playoffs and things. Minnesota is a really interesting team because they have Brian Flores, who just figures out a way to produce a top 12 defense every year, no matter where he's at. They bring in Kyler Murray. If he, does what every quarterback in Minnesota does, shows up, and all of a sudden he's great, then all of a sudden, like, the Vikings are a bit of a problem. Jacksonville really only lost 2 guys from last year, Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd. Outside of that, though, everybody's back on a team that won this division last year and won 13 games. The question there is, can Trevor Lawrence do it 2 years in a row, something that he's never done? Dallas, if they won the NFC East, I wouldn't be surprised. Also, if they went 10-7, 9-8, I don't think that'd be the most surprising thing either. And so, Cincinnati is, I think another team kind of in that category of could win their division, could also not be very good. And so there's just so many teams on their schedule that are similar to the Colts, right? Where, like, if the Colts went 7-10, I don't think people would be shocked by that. But also, if they went 11-6, I don't think people would be overwhelmingly surprised by that either. And so, yeah, man, there's just that's what makes the schedule so interesting to me, because it's like there's so many teams on here, kind of like that could be fringe playoff teams, and we just don't know which way their season is going to go.
I mean, you look at the rankings for the schedule; they're ranked to have like the 5th or 6th easiest schedule across the NFL, and then Vegas says 9th easiest. So you're looking at a top 10 easy schedule amongst the league.
That's what they're saying about the Colts?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So like I just don't believe that, man.
I don't either.
Like the numbers are like, where are these people getting numbers from? But it's based on, last year's win-loss percentages, whatever. But I don't know, man. I'm excited for the season, but the reality of I'm just ready for it to start. You know what I'm saying?
I'm ready for all of our questions to be answered. And
I feel like we're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. I should have said that. Yeah.
It's
going to be a lot of that.
It's kind of like, to go back to when we were talking about the World Cup, like stuff like this happens in sports all the time, where before the U.S. played Belgium, people talked about how the United States' ability to press Belgium could be problematic for Belgium. And then Belgium just kicked the ball over their heads every single time. And it's like, oh, that actually doesn't really matter because they're just going to do that instead. And so I'm sure stuff like that will happen where we'll look up and be like, edge rusher, not as big of a deal because Lou Anarumo did X, Y, and Z. And so that's what I'm hoping happens at least. But hey, man, we will see. Speaking of Lou Anarumo, he does not have a dominant edge rusher on his roster this year. That's a problem. And so is the depth at the edge rusher position. We'll talk Colts and potential edge rusher trades that are probably going to be made in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Indianapolis Colts desperately need an edge rusher, and look, they're betting on the projection of Leatu Latu and him, taking another step forward, which I don't mind, because when you take a guy 15th overall, you expect for that guy to improve over time. The problem is just the lack of depth. That's really why they need to find another guy to go out and make a trade for. Because after Leatu Latu, who no matter what you think of him, he is a starting caliber edge rusher in the NFL. After that, they don't have one. Arden Key is a career rotational pass rusher. Michael Clemens has 8.5 sacks in his career. Jalen Tuimoloau didn't really see the field last year. After that, you got Caden Curry and George Gums, guys who were, day 3 picks. You got to bring somebody else in, because not having a group of defensive linemen that can generate pressure with 4 is a really hard thing to cover up. It's like, they'll just blitz more. That's not really an answer. I know that this secondary is good, but the best quarterbacks in the NFL tear up the blitz. Blitzing elite quarterbacks without a natural pass rush, it's like, throwing gasoline on a fire to try to extinguish it. Okay? Not a great strategy. Not a reliable strategy against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and the other good quarterbacks that the Colts have to face this year. They're going to have to make a trade if they want to get better. It's the only way. Even if Leatu Latu does become a 12.5 sack guy, they need more depth. Also, you can never have too many good pass rushers. Okay, so I've got 4 guys here that I think that the Colts should be eyeing. Max Crosby, Josh Sweat, Alex Highsmith, and Kevon Thibodeau / any of the Giants edge rushers that they'd be willing to move. Because that's, this is the final hole on their roster that they need to solve. Okay? Josh Sweat's a guy who had 12 sacks last year. He's 29 years old. Could probably get him for a day 2 pick. Alex Highsmith, same thing, 29 years old, 9.5 sacks in 13 games last year. Could probably get him for a 3rd or 4th round pick. Kevon Thibodeau is an interesting guy because the 1 year he's been healthy, he had 11.5 sacks, but every other year he's struggled to stay healthy. So I think I like him more than the other options. Max Crosby isn't really an option because he went for 2 first-round picks in the offseason to Baltimore. The problem with that is the Colts gave up 2 first-round picks last year for Sauce Gardner. I don't think that they want to do that again. So Thibodeau from New York is my most desired guy just because you can probably get him for a little bit cheaper than what he's actually worth just because of the injuries. And then if he comes in and you're able to figure out a way to keep him healthy, you're set at both edge rushing spots for the next couple of years because you've got Leatu Latu on one side and you've got Thibodeau on the other. And that would be an excellent pairing for the Colts going forward. 2 edge rushers in their 20s and their early / mid 20s that you would think are only going to get better with the more reps that they get. Chris, you keep smiling and laughing over there. What's so funny, dude?
Looking at myself in the mirror.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, there's some really good stuff here that we're about to share for the for what we learned today.
So, before we get to that, as a Giants fan, if they were to move any one of their edge rushers, which one would you want them to move?
Oh, I don't know, man. I'd have to look it up. Let me think about that. Which one they'd want to move here or just off the team altogether?
Trade just in general. So you got Brian Burns, obviously. Arvell Reese is the new guy. Abdul Carter is who they took last year.
Probably Carter because he's a troublemaker.
Okay.
He's a problem in the locker room and attracts the wrong attention.
Oh, he's the guy who got mad at Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, to be fair,
that's an easy one.
Okay, yeah, no, that's totally fair. Totally fair. All right. But hey, man, I would take him here. Former number 3 overall pick. You kidding me? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm
not dismissing
him and Tyler Warren reunited. It'd be great. It'd be great. Speaking of great, we do this to close the show every single day. A lot of things are said over the 3 hours that we do the show. And we're always learning things. So here's what we learned on the Real Jonathan Smith Show today.
All right, class. What did we learn today?
Yeah, it's what we learned on a Wednesday. This has been the Is That Your Hair or a Chia Pet edition of the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Today, we would like to inform you not only that we learned, but you can join ESPN Pick'em for the Real Jonathan Smith Show this year and pick what teams are going to win every week. So if you'd like to jump on that, just hop on the ESPN Fantasy app and join there. Search The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Today we learned that I do not like roller coasters, or at least Jonathan learned that.
Yeah, true.
We learned that college football needs a preseason.
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea from Aaron.
Solid take. We learned that Toronto is unsure of how AC works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was kind of laughing over here before you brought me on because I don't know if you've ever Googled what we learned today on The Real Jonathan Smith Show, like an AI mode.
Okay.
So here's what AI said that we learned today, or what you would learn on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Number one, a favorite bit is where Jonathan tells overreacting local sports callers to drink some settle down juice.
Okay, yeah. We do that a little bit, yeah.
That's accurate.
That is accurate.
We also, the show has everyday absurdities, breaking away from serious Colts analysis to overthink entirely irrelevant pop culture topics.
I don't know if that, I think we stay pretty on topic. I don't know about that.
AI has it out for you, Jonathan. And the last the last one is hilarious. If you look up what we learned today on The Real Jonathan Smith Show, AI will tell you that Jonathan constantly roasts his producer over failed trivia answers and poor music cue choices.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's
I've never
kind of true. Yeah,
I've never Googled the show before. Maybe we should do this more often and figure out what the AI is saying about us.
Maybe we should.
That's crazy.
That's funny. That'll do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Great show today. Coach Odom was good. Hopefully, if you're a Purdue fan, you feel a little bit better about the direction of the program after he came on the show. Aaron Torres was great, as always, as well. We got a lot of Colts stuff tomorrow as we recap what happens today at their joint practice against the Falcons. We will start that at noon tomorrow. Talk to you then.